We're going to be talking about free speech. The question today on Quora is brought to us by Mats. Mats wants to know, why do Democrats celebrate free speech, but when I want to praise Donald Trump, it's as if free speech suddenly no longer exists? Relevant response from, I don't know from who, someone. He says, you mean the moment you praised Donald Trump, Democrats made a law that you couldn't? And you got a prison sentence in a court of law? No, not even a fine, not an arrest. You are in desperate need of some education. Free speech does not mean people can't answer back or think you're an asshole or refuse to serve you or even fire you from your job. All it means is that you can't be punished in a court of law unless you are found in contempt of court. Gabriel says, tell me you don't understand free speech without saying, I don't understand free speech. I'm almost getting tired of having to discuss what freedom of speech actually is. Freedom of speech is not being allowed to say whatever you want without any consequence from peers, employers, or etc. Freedom of speech is the ability to say what you want against the government without fear of being prosecuted or incarcerated. Why do conservatives not understand that they can say whatever they want, but they can use the little power, but I can use the little power that I have in society to rebut your praise of Donald Trump? And even if people don't want to hear it, we can create some kind of social or economic consequence. If you were at my house praising Donald Trump, I might ask you to leave. It's my right in my house to not have to deal with that shit. If we are out in public, I can't do anything about you. Maybe except make you look foolish or get people to laugh at you. Of course, you would be completely free to stay there in public with people laughing at you, but you tend to not like that. You're free to speak, and I am free to rebuke you. Neither of us can prosecute or incarcerate each other for our speech, and the government would not be able to stop us from speaking either, unless we're creating some kind of public nuisance, engaging in a crime, or creating a dangerous environment for the public. That's the extent of freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want against Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, or whatever other Democrat you want, short of credibly threatening their lives, without fear of the government coming after you. If someone doesn't like what you are saying or what they hear, they can use their speech to try and shut you down. Wolf says, you're allowed to say and think what you want, just as I have the right to say and think that you're an idiot. Just as you're free to say and think that I'm an idiot. I love how the right has this idea that free speech means above reproach, or that self-censorship is infringing upon your freedom of speech. Literally heard a cop say that being made to feel bad for being bigoted against gays took away his free speech because he didn't want to get hated. Make that make sense. I'm sure if you support Trump, you've said terrible things about Democrats and the left and see no problem attacking us or Biden. Unless you're talking about websites, but they're under no obligation to allow anything you want to put in there. I can think of quite a few websites that I've been to where promoting homosexuality or whatever you want could get you banned. You have the right to say or do whatever you want, but you don't have the right to any platform or to force me to listen to it. Our friend Joe here says, let me guess, you're unhappy that someone you assumed was a Democrat exercised their constitutionally guaranteed freedom of speech to tell you to shut up. That doesn't mean that freedom of speech no longer exists. You're still allowed to praise Donald Trump, but nobody is obligated to listen to you. Now, if you mean that instead that you actually were arrested for praising Trump, can you elaborate? That would be a violation of the Constitution. You should talk to a lawyer about that and defend yourself on constitutional grounds, or sue the government agency that overstepped its authority. Freedom of speech does still exist in the United States, regardless of what Donald Trump wants to say. It's not sedition. It's not treason. to speak out against a fascist blowhard. Those are my thoughts. Jonathan says, did you get arrested when you praised Trump? Are you subject to some court-imposed gag order? Has the equipment that you used to praise Trump been confiscated by the state because that's why you used it? Or have people disagreed with you, called you an idiot, offered counter arguments and counter evidence to your statements, and called Trump nasty names? Or have you, in the course of praising Trump on social media, made remarks that violated terms of service or community standards and had your content deleted? I have a feeling that's kind of what prompted this question. He probably said something that got him a terms of service ban. Which is funny because it's hard to do on any of these social media sites anymore. They're so Trump beholden. All of the big oligarchs and the social media owners all love Trump so much that you can hardly say anything against him. Anyways, he continues on. Because if it's any of the second category, then free speech is alive and well. And what you're objecting to is other people having it. And private companies expecting you to follow rules to which you agreed when you signed up on their platform. Agreed. You don't really get to just go out and say whatever you feel like. Freedom of speech does not make you free from consequences of people thinking you're a jerk, not wanting to work with you or hire you, not wanting to serve you. We are still entitled to our opinion based upon what you have to say. So if you're saying things that are awful, we don't all have to listen to it. We don't have to respect it. You are trying to act like the victim of imagined crimes. Go educate yourself about the freedom of speech. It's supposed to protect you from the government retaliating against you for your words within reason. Trump and the Republicans are the only ones violating that right. You are not protected from other people calling you out on your delusional, ignorant BS. He posts up a meme underneath her that says, if conservatives are being silenced, then why don't they ever shut the fuck up? Freedom of speech is not freedom to be a bully. It does not mean you can harass, abuse, and dehumanize others without any repercussions. Joe here says, you don't understand free speech. You seem to think that free speech means that you can say whatever you want and everyone else is supposed to just shut up and accept it. That's wrong. That's a clueless interpretation of free speech. You can say a lot of things, but you can also expect people to tell you when you're full of it or wrong. You've just got your panties in a wad because you want to say that Trump is a baby Jesus or some other thing, and people are daring to disagree with you. In fact, sometimes they even point out facts. Ooh, how convenient. And it burns to be confronted with those issues. It is particularly ironic that you'd make this claim shortly after Donald Trump and his minion, J.D. Vance, made asses of themselves in the White House before assembled dignitaries and press. Trump, the guy who said it was Ukraine that invaded Russia. Trump, the guy who told the European Union that Crimea was part of Russia because the residents there spoke Russian. Trump, the guy who got impeached because he secretly stopped military aid, violating the Impoundment Act, passed decades earlier to prevent presidents from doing that exact same thing. And then when he was forced to resume that aid because of his impeachment, he prohibited the use of anti-tank weapons in combat. Trump has made the U.S. a laughingstock. So go ahead and praise Donald Trump, but be prepared for some blowback. A lot of people telling you that Trump is an ass and destroying the United States every day that he's in office. Another relevant question from Ari here says, if Trump values free speech, why does he punish free speech? Why does he disparage protest free speech? So let's talk about this on the other side. You guys want to say that your freedom of speech is being imposed or impinged upon because you're not free to just say racist or ignorant things or wonderful things about Trump and have nobody listen to you. So let's talk about this. Let's see the other side of this. If Trump values freedom of speech, why does he punish free speech? Why does he disparage free speech? Because the freedom of speech is being impinged on the left. I mean, our president literally just called for the assassination of people who disagree with him. Now, that is an impingement on freedom of speech. So let's read on to some relevant responses to this question. Says, because of course he doesn't value free speech. He never did. None of the MAGA tree ever did. Now, it should now, with all of his pardons of the January 6th rioters who assaulted the cops that they claim to support, not to mention the dread Pirate Roberts, who ran the Silk Road dark website that facilitates the drug trade he claims he's fighting, and of course his refusal to release the Epstein files that obviously implicate him in the serial abuse and rape of underage girls, and his continuing abandonment of yet another ally, Ukraine, along with the Afghans, the Kurds, NATO. He's already sold down the river, to name only a few of the infinite instances. Be as apparent as it is undeniable that Trump, in his brown shirt hypo-Christian followers, he has never had one single real principle in that corpulent corpus of his. They are the biggest hypocrites and the most consistent liars in all of history. So thanks for asking. Let's see some more answers about why Trump doesn't value freedom of speech and why he disparages it from those who are on the opposite side. Elissa says he punishes those who do not believe in what he believes. He believes he's entitled to whatever he wants. If it means people will die because of him, his attitude is, so what? He's cruel, evil, sick, enjoying whom he hurts. He is a monster. He poses, however, bright, caring, knowledgeable people have been onto him from the get-go. Sadly, he fools the fools. The world is a mess and there will be no happy ending. The ton of money he has at his disposal will keep him in power. And this is not kind, gentleman who will care about your well-being. He's a greedy pig. He values himself, and it's off with your head if you get in the way. Relevant comment from Robert says, I'm going to tap the Francis Wilhot sign again. Conservatism consists of exactly one proposition, to wit, there must be in-groups who the law protects but does not bind, alongside out-groups who the law binds but does not protect. That seems pretty accurate for our state of being now. Trump lies. You can tell he's lying by observing to see his mouth is open. He does not care about freedom of speech for the rest of us. Trump is a traitor, and millions of people know this. Trump values only his freedom of speech, no one else's. Literally, freedom of the press is one of our constitutionally protected freedoms. Not only freedom of speech, but freedom of the press. And he is silencing anybody who speaks out against him. Literally jabbing his finger in the face of a young reporter, calling her a little piggy and telling her to shut up. Ridiculous. Our president should be held to a higher standard than any other American, not be held above any reproach or any accountability. Freedom of speech is only free so long as we all have it. David says, I do not think Trump values free speech. He values speech which supports him uncritically and praises him, and no other speech. He greatly resents criticism, any criticism of him. He mouths support for free speech at times, but that's a lie. He may not really understand what free speech even means. So I think that's a good place to stop today with freedom of speech. We understand that, like, we all should have it. We should all be protected in it. We should not be sent to internment camps because we speak out against a fascist government. Our democratic leaders should not have their lives threatened and literally basically called for an execution because they dared to speak against him. Keep speaking out. Keep using your voice. Don't let them silence you.